Welcome to Toy Business Unboxed, your gateway to the secrets of the toy industry. Here, Jason Shea, a toy entrepreneur and expert in the field.
Every product we develop is really inspired by some of the real life experience that we have with our son.
60% of all toys last year were sold on Amazon, which is incredible.
Be passionate about it because it's a road, it's a journey.
Like when you have an idea that you think is like gonna somewhat like change the world, make things better, I'd say go for it.
We'll guide you through the enchanting world of toy design, marketing, and manufacturing. Now let the unboxing begin.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Toy Business Unboxed. Today, we'll dive into a topic that affects every family, helping kids manage their emotion. Our guest, Jennifer, is a single mom entrepreneur and the creator of My Moody Monster, a plush toy designed to help children express and process their feeling. Inspired by her own journey with PTSD, Jennifer had made her mission to give families tools for emotional regulation and open communication. Thank you so much for joining our podcast today, Jennifer.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason.
So will you mind sharing with our audience on how do you even got into the toys and game industry? A little bit of a background about yourself.
Sure. Well, I am a single mom and I live with complex PTSD and major depressive disorder from childhood trauma. And I just kind of fell into wanting to create my first toy. I was frustrated with my own symptoms of my PTSD and my emotions. And one day I was in a group therapy session and I said, I wish I had a monster that I could rip apart and throw across the room and bang against everything.
Yeah.
And the people in the group were like, yeah, you should have that.
Uh-huh.
And I went home and I'm not a seamstress. I'm not, I can't really use a sewing machine very well. But I put together this plush monster
Hmm.
and I made them with their arms and legs and head with Velcro so that I
Hmm.
could rip them apart.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's how you come up with the idea. I
Yeah,
see.
it started out with just, my own frustrations. And I realized as I was using my monster that they could be a really good help to other people, people
Hmm.
who are also dealing with big emotions,
Hmm.
especially children.
Mm-hmm. I see. I see. I see. And can you also walk us through your process on like making it into an actual business? Because it sounds like it's just like an idea for you. How do you like why do you actually spend the time to actually create it and like some of the journey you have when you have gone over so far?
So when I decided I wanted to share my monster with the world, I first got in touch with the SBA because I thought, I want to be
Hmm.
a small business. So let's talk
Yeah.
to the SBA. And when I spoke with one of the members there, they said, you really need to get into an accelerator program,
Hmm.
something to help you really build onto this. And so they introduced me to a group that started in Massachusetts called E for All, Entrepreneurship for All. And they did have an accelerator program. And I had come up with this monster right as soon as COVID hit.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was kind of this time where I had a lot of time to focus
Hmm.
on this product and to really expand it into something that I could share with the world. So I was in the accelerator program and I had mentors and a cohort, and I really put together a business plan and I really refined what I wanted this monster to be. And that's where my Moody Monster came in.
I see, I see, I see. Yeah. And do you have an actual sample of the product that you can show
I
out?
sure do.
So
This
for
is
our
Moody.
for our listener that want to see what the product look like, please also check out our YouTube video as well. Yeah, please show the product and how it works.
Yeah. So you can rip Moody's head off and throw it across the room. You can pull off their arms and legs and bang them against the furniture. The best part about Moody is you can put them back together again. And this
Hmm.
is a perfect time for communication for
I
kids.
see.
Parents can sit down with their kids and say, what happened? What can
Mhm.
we do next time to better cope with those big feelings you're having? So it
Mm.
gives an opportunity for parents to help their children to grow an emotions toolbox.
Yeah, for sure. So, do you also provide any other like educational content on like how can parent help kids with emotional regulation? Being because I also have a kids on the spectrum. Sometimes emotional regulation has always been a issue with my son. Sometimes, what would be your recommendation? Our listener that's also dealing with emotional regulation issues.
Well, yes, I do have on my YouTube channel, my Moody Monster, I have Moody Talks.
Oh,
And
okay, okay.
yeah, so each month I picked an emotion that I wanted to talk about. And
Hmm.
then the first week, I talk about what are the words that we use when we
Mm,
think about this emotion.
yeah.
Because the best way to understand how difficult that emotion is by using your words. So
Mhm,
if you're have an anger emotion coming up, some people use the word mad. They
yeah.
use different words, and
Mhm.
we need to learn what the intensity is by
Yeah.
using the words we have. So when
Mm,
we also talk about body sensations we feel with those emotions and things that happen when we feel that emotion, like how we might react. And
mhm.
then the next 3 weeks, I talk about coping skills that I learned myself with
Mm,
my own mental health.
uh,
Talk about those coping skills that I learned that have helped me to build a coping skills toolbox.
I see, I see, I see. And why do you think it's so important for the kids to have a physical way to express their frustration?
Yeah, I when my kids were little, I used to call them my little cavemen. Because
Okay.
they were born with all these big feelings, right? We're all born with these big emotions that we don't know what any to do with. And those emotions come with body sensations and needs that we may have.
Mm,
So an angry child may need to get that out in a physical way, more
mhm,
so than just talking about it. And a lot of therapists will tell people if you really need to get out that, emotion, punch a pillow. Maybe hit take a
yeah.
pillow and hit it around the room. So what
I
I
see.
did was I created this buddy
Mm,
to do that for them. Again, it's a signal to the adults in the room that this kid
mhm.
needs some help with their feelings.
Yeah, for sure. And I want to go back one step and talk about the product development stage that you also went through because that's every one of us in the toy and game industry. Like developing the product, you sometimes takes the longest. How long does it took you, and what was your process like?
It took me 4 years to get a prototype that I was happy with.
Oh, whoa, okay, okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
a couple of
yeah,
manufacturers that I worked
yeah.
through. And sometimes some manufacturers didn't want to continue to work on the prototype because I was asking for the stickiest Velcro they could possibly find to make it really difficult to pull it apart.
Ah,
And, some of them just didn't want to you know,
mm.
continue the endeavor to find that until I found my manufacturer that I use now. So it took 4 years to develop the final prototype and then get into testing.
Huh, okay. That's actually unusually long based on my experience. What is some of the major reasons of the sounds like you switch a few different manufacturers. Is that why it's taking like longer than usual?
Yeah, because I'm not a part of the toy network. I
Oh,
was such a beginner. I really didn't know where to reach out for manufacturers.
I see, I
So it was a
see, I
big
see.
networking thing for me, and
Yeah.
my trademark lawyer finally was
Mm.
able to recommend someone that she knew, and that's when I
Oh,
found my manufacturer.
got it, got it, got it, got it, got it. And did you look into using platform like Alibaba? Like you can find some Chinese suppliers using the like Alibaba marketplace. Have you tried that?
I looked into it, but again, it was that idea of working back and forth and getting the prototype that I really felt was the
Um,
best for my brand.
True, got it. Yeah, I think, and also there's always going to be a communication gap. I guess the minor advantage that I have is because I also speak Chinese, so it's a little bit easier to
There you
communicate
go.
with
Yeah.
the manufacturer directly. So that kind of speed up some of the development for us sometimes. So, but I think you have to create a very interesting product so far. What are some of the like common feedback that you're getting from the retailer and the people that's using the product?
Yeah, when I did testing, that was such an eye-opening experience for me, and I tested with families and teachers and
Okay.
counselors and therapists, so I went through a couple of different groups that I wanted to test it out, and families were having a great time communicating with their kids. Moody really became a buddy for a lot of kids,
Okay.
and a lot of the parents would then ask me to get another one because the kids didn't wanna share Moody.
I see, I see, I see. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah. I
Any
mean,
interesting story that you could share?
yeah, absolutely. I didn't realize it, but autistic kids really do like Moody. And one of the autistic kids that tested, they really were very happy with the feel, the
Mm,
sensations of Moody because he's
mhm,
very soft, but also has all that stitching on their face and on their
yeah.
hands and their feet. So
Mhm,
the texture was really great for them. And then the
mm.
ripping sound was so interesting to them. It was really that again was another eye opener for me. It was a whole group of kids that I could help better by, having them learn to communicate. Many kids who are nonverbal were better
Mhm,
able to communicate with their adults that they were with.
mhm.
And I did actually have Moody in an ABA center.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, and they asked for more and more of them. The kids were taking them home instead of keeping them at the center because they'd get attached and were
Mhm.
able to verbalize when they were upset.
And for our listener that doesn't know what ABA Center is, can you briefly explain what ABA Center
Sure.
is?
It's an autism behavioral center. So they really work with the kids, the autistic kids, to better like build a behavior skills toolbox
Mm.
and are better able to communicate in that sense.
Yeah, actually, it also stands for Applied Behavior Analysis. I'm very familiar with it because my son did many years of ABA therapy when he was younger as well. So I know exactly what you're talking about because that's what I have some personal experience with the ABA center that my son used to go to before. And there's always different tool, different toys, different games. The therapist or the it's called the BCBA. They will try to facilitate and put different items and have the therapist to use to interact with the kids. And just like you mentioned, for a lot of the nonverbal autistic kid, the emotion regulation is definitely a huge issues, and sometimes different type of meltdowns, different type of tantrum that you experience. So based on your experience, like how can parents use play to teach kids about emotion?
Well, I think that we need to step back and figure out how we deal with our own emotions.
Okay.
A
Yeah.
lot of us were taught not to
Mhm.
show our emotions, right? Don't be an angry girl or don't upset your grandmother with your sadness, that kind of thing.
Mm.
So we didn't learn ourselves
Mm.
how to show our emotions and how to better understand them. So I
Mm.
think that play actually can help both the child and the adult in that situation to
Mm.
learn how to communicate together. And a lot of my parents and therapists, they say that they use Moody themselves.
Okay. Okay.
Therapists say that they use with the adult, with a
Mhm.
parent, they'll use Moody as a stand-in for their child. So
Oh,
they
okay.
can kind of role play
Mhm.
to figure out how they want to interact with their child with a specific topic or
Mm.
some issue has come up in the family.
I see, I see, I see. And what are some of the signs maybe parents can look out for to see their child struggling with like emotional regulation?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can understand your children, but again, I feel like parents need to put the oxygen mask on first
Mm.
so that when they're interacting with a child that has big feelings, our children trigger us as well.
Mhm.
I only get feelings when our children have big feelings. So if we put the oxygen mask on first and regulate ourselves using coping skills that we've learned for ourselves, we can
Mhm.
then approach our children with an open more open communication.
Yeah, and I think there's also a trend in the toys and game industry. There's a whole like MASH certification. I don't know. Have you heard of it?
Yes, yes, I'm actually going through
Yeah.
the mesh certification right now.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah, I think your product would be a really good fit for it. And for those listeners that doesn't know what MASH certification is, I'm trying to remember. I think it's mental, emotional, social health. I think that's
Yes.
what it stands for. And it is a special certification for the toys that help kids with emotional regulation or behaviors and this kind of issue that we're talking on the podcast today, and that you can apply for and get certified. And actually, the people that created that certification, Dr. Um, uh,
Bummer.
Amanda Garmer was also on our podcast before, so I'm very familiar with her program as well.
Yeah, I met with Amanda, and she's fascinating, and she was
Mm.
such a wonderful person to talk with. So anyone who is working in the socio-emotional space for toys, Amanda's a great person to speak with.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely there's a need and a gap in the in the industry itself, especially post COVID. I think we got more emotional problem than before. I mean, myself included. I feel like I'm more stressed out than before.
Well,
And
kids, they spend a certain amount of time, especially the kids that are just growing socio-emotionally,
mm,
alone or just
um,
with their siblings.
or just with their iPads on.
Right, so they
Yeah,
missed out
yeah,
on that learning opportunity in, like, preschool and kindergarten. Yeah, I think that it COVID really did do a number on all of us.
for sure. And since you mentioned about the mass certification, can you also kind of walk or share to our listener that are interested to learn a little bit more about the certification based on your experience so far? Like, can you kind of share like how does that process look like for you?
Yeah, so they just received my 3 Moody's in England,
Okay.
so I spoke with them earlier today, and
Okay.
what you do is you send in samples, and they'll go through the process of they'll test it with kids, they test it themselves based on criteria that there is, and so far, I've already received some feedback on how I can better a parental advisory for also telling children more about how to use Moody, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So I'm getting a lot of great feedback and being able to build a better Moody.
Okay, okay. Got it, got it, got it, got it. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. And for some of our listeners that might be interested to learn more, I think that'll be a wonderful program to also consider. And I think also your product is also being used with the first responders and also social workers as well. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yes, yes. My social mission for Moody is to get them to social workers, to first responders, and medical treatment centers for kids in trauma.
Mm,
A lot of kids, especially just now with the California fires, they've lost
mm,
everything.
yeah.
And first responders are the first people that see many of these children. And I'd love for them to be able to give them a Moody, a buddy, to help guide them through
Mm,
this
mm,
traumatic time for them. The same with
yeah.
social workers. They're seeing so many kids go into foster care, and the
Yeah.
kids get just a big trash bag to throw their things in before
Yeah.
they leave. And I
Mm,
would love for them to have Moody as a buddy to
yeah.
help navigate that time for them. And
Mhm.
then also kids who have cancer treatments, who have difficult medical treatments, who need someone to hold on to during that time.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that as well. So actually, one of my kids went through the cancer treatment a few years ago
Mhm.
as well with leukemia. So I'm also familiar with that. I went
Yeah.
through quite a bit of different, trauma, with my own family over the
Oh,
years as well.
I'm
So
so sorry that your family went through that.
yeah, well, she's in full remission now, but
Mhm.
when she was doing the chemos and all of that for like 2.5 years, it was definitely very tough for her and also for the rest of my family as well.
I
So,
can
but thank you
imagine.
so much for doing that and helping kids that's facing different trauma like issues and also facing the cancer treatment is definitely one of the hardest things that kids um, need to go through and it's actually very heartbroken as a parent to see the kids going through all that.
I can only imagine. Wow.
So yeah, so thank you so much for doing what you do, and as well, kind of wrapping up today's interview. What would be some of the advice you give to other entrepreneur that's starting, that's new to the toys and game industry that you would like to share with them?
I think taking it one step at a time is really important. Like I said before, my prototype, I did not stop until I was fully satisfied knowing that this doll was going to be appropriate and would
Mm.
stay together even after use. So they get a
Yeah.
lot of use. And from the testing, I've found out that you can throw them in the washing machine and they're still going strong. So things
Mm-hmm.
like that I think are really important. I don't
Yeah.
think it's a matter of waiting for perfection. I think
Yeah.
you're never going to get to perfection. None of
Yeah.
us
Yeah. Yeah.
will, right?
Yeah.
So getting it out into the world when you're truly satisfied with the
Mm-hmm.
product is important. And the other thing I would say is protect your brand.
Mm.
Very important. That was one of the first things I did when I got my logo. I got my trademark lawyer, and I actually had to fight Monster Energy drink
What?
for
Monster
my
Energy drink?
yeah, they're
Oh,
trademark bullies.
because you also have the word monster,
I
even so
had
it's
yep.
totally different product.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
They were unrelenting. And
oh,
they've done this with so many people, small businesses. And I was
wow.
lucky enough to have a trademark lawyer who knew how to, wrangle them and get in there and figure out what I could actually do. They even wanted to change I had a lime color in and they refused to allow me to use the lime color in my logo. I had to change
What?
it.
What a drink though. Oh my God. Okay. I didn't
Right.
know that. Okay. Okay. I
So
see.
protect your brand. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
really important, especially coming out the gate.
I see. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, and thank you for sharing the valuable experience. Where is the best place for people to find you online?
Yes. So you can find me anywhere at My Moody Monster. That's my URL, mymoodymonster.com. And I'm on all the socials and
Mm.
YouTube as My
Yeah.
Moody Monster. And, the other part that I have on YouTube that I hope people will take a look at is I do Moody story time
Oh,
and I
okay.
read books about big emotions. So
Mhm.
you can actually press play on one of them and it'll play a bunch of them. So if you're looking for bedtime stories, that kind of thing to share with your kiddo, that's available as well.
I see. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. We'll make sure we put that in the show note as well. So, for our listener, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Toy Business Unboxed podcast. We hope you have enjoyed today's conversation and find it insightful and inspiring. If you like what you have heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. We really appreciate your support. We'd love it if you leave us a review and share the podcast with your friend and colleague. For more resource, tips, and the latest update within the toys and game industry, visit our website at toys-launch.com. Join the conversation and connect with us on social media using hashtag ToyBusinessUnboxed. We would love to hear your feedback and suggestions for future episodes. Until next time, keep innovating, keep creating, keep bringing joys to toys. This is Jason Shea signing off on the Toy Business Unboxed podcast. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, everyone.